Hello everyone, this is Chef Shailendra Darekar from ASSMS College, CHM City, Pune. I'm an assistant professor in ASSMS. Today I'll be having a session on a novel cuisine, part 1. So we are going to go through a journey of cuisine or the food history, and we'll see what are things happen in the past. So let's begin with our objective. So we will know what is novel cuisine. Then we will go, as I said, understand the history of novel cuisine, and we will understand what is haute cuisine. Okay. Let's begin with a fantastic photographs on your screen. These are two people or two chefs in a history who invented or who did a changes or in a food industry, or they are pioneer of nouvelle cuisine. This is what we can say. They are French chef, both of them, Henry Gault on the left-hand side and Christina Moller on the right-hand side. This, both the chef will see more detail, and we have beautiful presentation in the middle, which is modern plating, what we are going to see. Let's begin with the understanding of nouvelle cuisine. As you can see in the picture, presentation of food, plating of the food. So nouvelle cuisine is new cuisine. It's a French word. It's an approach to the cooking and food presentation used in a French cuisine, contrasted with the cuisine classico. This contradicting to the classical cuisine. Nouvelle cuisine is a character by lighter, more delicate dishes and an increased emphasis on presentation. As picture also says, more focus was given in nouvelle cuisine on plating skills, and lighter and delicate dishes were introduced. So let's see the history of food or cooking. In early 1970, chef wants to bring about a change in a French cuisine. It was done by author Henry Gault and Christina Moll, as they were fed up with the same classical food every day. So they took about 20 years for people to take novel cuisine dishes to change. As you know, any changes happen, it takes time to settle down, and people are not ready to take the changes. Okay. They hesitate for a change. So same happened in that era. It was easier to get the recognition as many restaurants were often serving French classical dishes. But novel cuisine was influenced greatly by the monthly publication by Gault and Mill. They used to publish dishes monthly, and they increased from 10,000 copies to 20 lakhs copies per month. So that is a changes what they introduced or did it in a history. So now let's understand what is haute cuisine. Food that is prepared in any elegant or elaborate manner, that very finest food prepared perfectly, that is a haute cuisine. The French word haute translates high or superior cuisine as cooking. Okay, so it's a expensive, including of dishes, expensive ingredients, and elaborate manner of food presentation, fine food presentation, that is haute cuisine. Haute literally means high cooking in French, or grade cuisine refers to cooking of a grand restaurant and hotel of the Western world. So the royal hotels or the expensive hotels used to have this cuisine. It is characterized by elaborated preparation and presentation, large meal of a small or often quite rich courses, extensive wine cellar, and efficient running service. That is all about haute cuisine. Okay. Classical French cuisine is also known as haute cuisine. Okay. A lot of dishes in haute cuisine was included French classical cuisines. Okay, let's see a series of videos about the history of food. Before that, let's have a specialized dishes of famous haute cuisine. So, Torando's Rossini, which is a sautéed beef fillet steak served on a circular crouton and garnished with a foie gras slice and truffle slices and finely made Madeira sauce, which is wine-based sauce. So that kind of dishes used to be served in haute cuisine. Then second dish is Derby chicken, moreover popular name, which is stuffed with, chicken was stuffed with rice, goose liver and truffles, which is wild mushroom, and roasted and lavishly garnished with more truffle and foie gras. You can see the dishes, which is fillet at the bottom, and then we have the chicken on the right hand side. Okay, so as I said, let's see the history video, series of videos to understand what happened in that olden era. So let's begin with the video, first video.
In this video, we will examine the chronicle of the haute French cuisine that developed in the Palace of Versailles until the French Revolution in the year 1789. So do not forget to ring the bell and subscribe Foodie Eyes channel. We are starting right away. Until the beginning of the 16th century, French cooking was unpretentious, basic and quite simple as in England. In fact, we can start talking about food in terms of culture that leads to our time from 1533, the year in which the Duke of Orleans was married to Caterina de' Medici of the well-known Florentine family. She took with her many famous chefs and confectioners from Italy, of which the French began to develop their cooking schools and promote the art of cooking. Toward the end of the 17th century, France was already known in the world in its classic cuisine. The menu evolved over a variety of dishes and fresh products. An attractive display of dishes have become inevitable. The combination of mixed flavors and dishes that fits together were the leading line in the menu. At the beginning of the century, most of the cooks in France have become aware of the fresh vegetables issue in cooking during the reign of Louis XIV, King of France, whose great affection was known for fresh and cooked vegetables, sweets and pastries, and his chefs has developed the marzipan and the preparation of jams. In the development of cooking in the palace of Louis XIV, a number of cookbooks are written, and the best known is Cuisine Française, was written in 1651 by François de la Varenne. It was the first constitutive text of modern French cuisine. In the 16th century, La Varenne broke up from Italian traditions that revolutionized French cooking in the Middle Ages. La Varenne was a centerpiece of the group of French chefs who wrote for a professional audience and created a codification of French cuisine during the reign of Louis XIV, King of France. In the 17th century, there was a culinary revolution that brought French gastronomy into modern times. The heavily spiced flavors of medieval cuisine were abandoned in favor of the natural flavors of food. The exotic spices were replaced with local herbs. New vegetables like cauliflower, asparagus, peas, cucumber, and artichokes have entered the menu. Special attention was given for the cooking of meat and preserve its original taste. Vegetables should have been fresh and soft. Fish with the improvement of transportation, had to be completely fresh. The cooking had to respect the sense of taste and appearance of the ingredients instead of hiding them, as they had in the past. La Varenne's work was the first refer to significant culinary innovations in France in the 17th century. In accordance with the rules and principles, he introduced the first lobster bisque and bechamel sauce. He replaced the breadcrumbs with bouilli as a base for the sauces, and the pig fat he replaced in butter. And here you can find the first use in terms of bocche grani, axis and reduction, and egg protein for clarification. It also contains the earliest recipe found in writing for Cremeschnitt. Its mention of fragrant asparagus sauce is evidence for an early form of Hollandaise sauce. It was the first book to try to make order and cooking rules. The cooking for Louis XIV was more beautiful than refined. A large number of dishes were served at the king's dinner, which was known for its gluttony rather than its gourmet taste. In any case, Louis XIV instituted the custom of serving portions separately. Before his time, it was customary to place all the food in a pyramid at the center of the table. One sauce was famous at the time, is bechamel sauce, in the name of his finance minister Louis de Bechamel, who in addition managed a list of menus and catalogued them. The reign of Louis XV is considered the golden age of French cuisine. Farmers began to produce high-quality foods and in large quantities, and the famine that was a permanent guest disappeared. Great chefs competed with each other in creating imaginative dishes. The basic fluids and their ability to improve sauce were discovered. Mayonnaise dressing appears on the table of Marshal de Richelieu. Goose liver pâté, decorated with truffles, became famous in Nicolas François Douane recipes, chef of the first president of the Parliament of Bordeaux. During the reign of Louis XVI, French chefs continued to refine the culinary methods and create menus for celebrations and meals. The conduct of the Palace of Versailles included breakfast and lunch and dinner ceremonies every night, which was attended by tens and hundreds of diners. The vast kitchen that expanded and grew parallel to the expansion of the palace employed more than 2,000 workers, chefs and cooks. The kitchen was built outside the palace itself as a factory, next to the vegetables garden, the goat pen, cowshed and chicken coop. It is important to mention that this kitchen had a huge bakery, a slaughterhouse and dairy, huge ovens, a vast winery, and a huge room where ice was stored. The ice, brought from the Swiss Alps by hundreds of workers who were engaged in transporting huge rocks of ice to the royal palace. The ice was used to cool the drinks and the sophisticated dishes that required cooling in an era where an electric refrigerator was beyond imagination. Unfortunately, the kitchen itself was destroyed in the 19th century. On the next chapter, we will see what has become from that huge system of royalty kitchens. So do not forget to subscribe this channel to get the best.
Let's continue with the second video.
In this video, we will continue to examine the creation of the haute cuisine in France. Who invented the gourmet restaurant? Who paid for it? We will try to find out right away. So subscribe this channel to get the next best foodie video, and we are starting right now. In the previous episode of this series, we have seen how the aristocracy of France, which was known as a consumer of luxury dining and lavish banquets, founded a culture of high-class cooking and a group of cooks who were now named chefs, led by François de la Varenne. They began to write books for a professional audience and thus created a codification of French cuisine during the reign of Louis XV.
Premier service pour Monseigneur le Dauphin.
During the reign of Louis XVI, French chefs continued to refine the culinary methods and created menus for celebrations and royalty events. The art of cooking became an industry who needed a new channel of existence. Until the middle of the 18th century, there were no restaurants as we know them in Paris. Those who did not cook at home often had to dine in inns where their bad food was known. Nobles and rich people, of course, enjoyed the services of private chefs. A change in public catering began in 1766 when the gentlemen Rose and Pontaille opened a food house where they served a dish named restaurant. The restaurant was a soup made of beef or chicken which boiled for many hours in a pot of water. This soup was considered as the ultimate health food of the period because the doctors believed he was capable of restoring the body forces after illness. Because at that time, like today, quite a few people were looking for a healthy alternative to lunch and dinner, the dining room became a success story. And the institute was named as the food it served, and thus created the word restaurant. However, despite the success of Rose and Pontaille, the break-in of restaurants as a profession and institute should be attributed to a much larger process. At the end of the 18th century, with the disintegration of the aristocratic class in Europe, which was accelerated by the French Revolution, and the disappearance of the top luxury food consumers in one way or another, the ministers of banquets and the cooks remained without work. With the flourishing of the bourgeoisie, the cooks and the bakers began to wander from the huge kitchens in the palaces and private estates of the aristocracy to the urban food houses. The new dining houses adapted the spirit of the banquets and the luxurious dining of the aristocracy to the restaurant's limited spaces, adding to it a new significant value, a tag of price. Price has completely changed the status of high-class food. The enjoyment of a gourmet dishes ceased to be the natural right from birth of the noble landowner and became the right of the money owner. The bourgeoisie established the connection between the taste of food and its price. The restaurant, who's probably the oldest in the world, began its journey in 1582 as an inn on the left bank of the Seine in Paris and was called La Tour d'Argent. The restaurant suffered from the horrors of the French Revolution, but it survived, and later the royalty chef of Napoleon Bonaparte took his responsibility on the management task. This restaurant is a landmark in the chronicle of haute cuisine. Later, in 1890, Frédéric Dallier conceived the most famous dish of the restaurant, which is also served today, and this is the canard au sang. Another elite restaurant who was established in the 18th century is Le Grand Vefour. One of the famous clients of this restaurant was also Napoleon, who used to sit there with his young mistress Josephine. Napoleon, who was not known as a great gourmet, liked to eat more on the battlefield than in restaurants, and led France to some of its greatest victories, but also to a glorious defeat in 1814. This defeat led to the invention of a new type of restaurant. And that is the reason I remind you to subscribe Foodie Eyes channel and get the best foodie history videos on.
Excellent information. I guess everyone like it. What happened in the history, especially in France, culinary history, which put a milestone and a starter point, how the revolution happened and the food all over the world change, and they look up to the French cuisine, and this is where the journey started of a nouvelle cuisine. So thank you so much for watching my video, everyone. These are my references which I use to create this video. Once again, thank you very much. I will request ASSMS HMCT students to please go through the quiz which I put up in the description box. Thank you so much again for watching this video. Have a nice day.